I know what it feels like to try so hard, search deep everywhere, and still feel like nothing, absolutely nothing is working. It's simply disheartening, really. Hey family, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to share something real close to my heart. The journey of how God took me from Nigeria to Japan. It's not just about traveling abroad, really, for me. It's about divine timing, open doors, and unwavering faith, even in the face of impossibility. Now, if you're believing God for something big, this video is for you. Oh my god, this is so nostalgic, but I think it's time to tell my story. So grab a cup of tea, get comfy, and let's get into this testimony. Before this testimony, there was a wilderness, the season of silence, a season of waiting, a season that felt like I had no direction. I had dreams of studying abroad, quite alright, of growing, of experiencing more, but every application felt like a dead end. I questioned myself. I know what it's like to try so hard, searching deep everywhere and still feel like nothing is working. You start to fear, to doubt, to question. But can I tell you something? God is never late. He's just setting the stage. He's building your strength, your trust, and your testimony. Flashback to the university though. Back in 2012, during my undergraduate years at the University of Nigeria, to the world, I had a quiet longing in my heart. I admired academics who had studied abroad. They always carried this grace, this charisma, this exposure. It felt far-fetched for me. I was like, me? Never me. Until one of my classmates got selected to study in Japan for a short-term program. And that, right there, lit something inside of me. I felt if someone that close to me could, then I can. Simple as that. So I started to dream quietly. I wanted more than what I was seeing. But I also knew that my humble background could not afford that. Application fees for most scholarships were given zero vibe, really. But the seed was just planted already. Moving on to searching for scholarships. After graduation from the uni, I started actively applying, seeking scholarships. Guys, it was intense. So many requirements. Some asked for thousands in application fees. Others had complicated processes. And worst of all, no guarantee. I personally aimed to apply over a dozen scholarships, but I eventually didn't because of financial demands. Yeah. Still, I kept the hope alive. I believed and I kept an open mind, hoping that someday, somehow, it's going to happen. And the NYSC year, I thought this year is sowing in faith, because when it came, the NYSC year came, that year changed everything. I personally was determined to not burden anybody back home financially. I made this vow to myself to save at least half of my government allowance, the one we call alawi, every month. It wasn't much though, but I wanted to have something to fall back on, anything, just in case the scholarship whole saga didn't work out. The season became one of my most productive years, spiritually and mentally. I grew in faith, discipline, and trust. Now, every day I would pray over my future and speak over my life and ask God to take control. But after almost about, 2 years of fertility, I decided to just pause. I was exhausted from the whole process and I just needed to rest, really, to breathe. The call that changed everything. And then it happened. One random evening, my phone rang, and guess who it was? It was someone from my alma mater, that's University of Nigeria, who knew my academic record. I had high to one, by the way. The person is a respected figure I hadn't spoken to in a long time, and what I heard was, Chioma, I've been trying to look for your contact for some time, and there was an opportunity in Japan and I think you are good for it. What? University recommendation route. Now, seek your parents' consent and then pray, Chioma. Pray. Guys, fully funded scholarship in Japan? Wow. But wait, prayer, double check. I mean, my intimate relationship with God is what only me, myself can explain. I'm this kind of person, if I fall or rise, let it be in Him. I mean, how could I possibly exist outside of His presence? But then, which one is ask for my parents' consent? I mean, which parent wouldn't want that for their child? But then later on, I realized that they could be concerned that I would marry my books instead of a man. Okay, now listen, Japan wasn't even on my radar, right? But the peace I felt when I got that call, inexplicable. And in my mind, I just signed up for it. Friends, when I say that call changed everything, I mean it. I immediately called up to inform my parents, and of course, it was a yes. And then I realized that I needed to do a lot of research work to come up with a research proposal, which meant stable electricity, fewer distractions, and proximity to places of convenience in the little village where I served, by the way. Now, to meet this goal, next thing I did was to quickly relocate to a new, less comfortable apartment, even though I had barely 4 months until the personal parade, right? The POP. And yes, it was cheaper, of course. If you saw me packing out, you would think that something was chasing me, really. That's because I knew that it was my moment. I started to prepare like my life depended on it. Really. How did it play out? Everything happened so quickly. The application, the documents, the waiting. Of course, it's never easy to wait for anything. Realistically speaking, I prayed and fasted like never before, in both actions and in words, constantly asking for the intercession of our Blessed Mother Mary. As always, of course, because, I felt she understood my deepest. Now, remember, all that ROV savings thing, and of course, from side hustles that couples do, such as participating during national elections. Every savings from those things went into the scholarship process. From constant transportation, transcripts, application, documents, transport to and from Japan. Yeah, it was a lot of money. Now, during my, not so much, but it was something. Now, during my NYC, after I finished in March, I was really tempted to work somewhere else. Until June, I hated to be idle. But I told my dad that my conscience wouldn't let me, because you see, I was really believing God about the results of this scholarship application, and if I went working for somebody, he or she would want to train me, only for me to leave without doing much for the person. Now, personal experience, having been a salesperson in the past, I felt it was unfair. So I endured the pain of waiting. I mean, it's just for a few months. And then one day, just a few days to my birthday, I had returned from my usual morning mass, sometime in June, right? And I got the call. I was selected, guys. I felt on my knees. I cried, I wept, I screamed, I laughed, I jumped all at the same time. I mean, God had done it. No interview, no back and forth, no stress. It was like all the pieces just came together. And that's how you know it was God, because it flowed. Before I could really process the whole thing, I was already attending orientation at the Embassy of Japan in Nigeria. I was packing my bags and preparing to move to Japan. Now, although I was not screened before being selected, I did have an interview after arriving in my school in Japan. Now, the journey to Japan, new begins, everything new. Now, it wasn't easy at first, really. I had my fears, I had doubts. I was leaving family, familiarity. I was leaving all of that. But I had a word, and when God gives you a word, you walk on water with it. Landing in Japan was surreal. New sights, new culture, a whole new chapter entirely. But even though everything felt unfamiliar, I felt peace, right? Because I knew God brought me here and He must have gone ahead of me to make sufficient provisions for me. And truly He did. Now, every time I walked the streets, every time I entered a classroom, I am reminded that I walk in answered prayers. Now, this wasn't just about studying for me, really. It was about stepping into destiny. God didn't just bring me here. I believed, still believe, that He planted me here. He literally surrounded me with people who helped. My professors, both the one from UNN and my Japanese professor, so kind. No, my Japanese professor literally cared for me in a way that made me tear up. Each time I remember the hassles of navigating frustrating experiments, academic pressure, COVID-19, homesickness, and sincerely, I genuinely wished to be like that to my students if I ever got into the academia. Then you talk about my beloved family members, oh my god, and a few friends, very few friends. He made a way in a land where I didn't even speak the language at first, guys. I'm telling you, you don't need to have everything all figured out in your life. Just say yes to the next step He gives you and do your best at everything that life offers to you, whether or not it works out. Think of it as laying a foundation of a building. Now, on arriving in Japan, now I arrived in Japan as a student, a foreigner, and later I'm a mother, a teacher, and Japan is really beginning to feel like home. Looking back now, one thing has become forever clear to me is the fact that there is nothing, absolutely nothing in this life again that will happen to me that is qualified to make me think that God is not with me. Not rejection, not delay, not fear, not even the fear of the unknown. Because if He could make a way where there was no way, one time, just once, He can do it again and over again. I'm a living proof of when God says it's your time, nothing, absolutely nothing can stop it. Now, if you're in a waiting season, if you are praying for something that feels impossible, I just want to say to you that God sees you, He hears you. Don't give up. And when it's the right time, He will make it all beautiful. My story is not about me, it's about a God who shows up. If He did it for me, He can do it for you too, sis, brother, anybody, okay? Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope my story encouraged you. Please like, comment, and share it with someone who needs hope right now. Don't forget to subscribe for more faith-filled, practical, and inspirational content. Drop your testimonies or your prayers below, and I would love to stand with you. Until next time, keep believing, keep showing up, and always remember, God's timing is never wrong. Bye!